Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making lechon or pernil al horno, which is basically a crispy oven roasted pork shoulder. It's actually pretty easy and quick to make, so let's get started. I have an 8-pound pork shoulder here, and here I have the inner side or the side without the skin of the shoulder facing up, and I'm using a knife to poke holes into it. This is so we can put some seasoning into it and make sure that it is well infused with flavor. You want the holes to be all about the same distance from one another. And now let's flip it over. Now I'm cutting the skin away from the meat, but you don't want to remove the skin from it. Just peel the skin back and then cut slits into the meat to make sure that the seasoning you add to it will really penetrate the meat. The slits should also be about the same distance from each other. Back to the other side with the holes that I just poked in there. Stick one whole garlic clove into each hole, pushing in deep to make sure it's embedded into the meat. Here I have some whole cloves and I'm sticking those into the holes as well. Just use one clove per hole. And same as the garlic, push in deep to make sure that it is well embedded into the meat. Once we're done with that, we can go ahead and season the meat with some epis. And if you watch my other videos, you know that I use epis a lot in my recipes. So here's how to make it. To prepare our epis, we need 2 bell peppers, 1 large onion, a bunch of scallions, about 10 garlic cloves, 1 bunch of fresh thyme, a bunch of parsley, and 1 Scotch bonnet pepper or habanero pepper. Put everything in the food processor, and to it, we will add 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of whole cloves, 2 tablespoons of adobo, or you can use whatever kind of mixed seasoning you like, 1 sachet of accent seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Combine everything and don't worry about the whole cloves because it's going in the food processor, but if you prefer to use ground cloves instead, then that's fine. So combine these dry seasonings and add it to the food processor with the vegetables. And now we have our bowl of epis, and to it add 1 tablespoon of lime juice and a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I know that this is a lot of seasoning we just made here, but this is a good seasoning that you can use in meat, seafood, rice, pasta, whatever you want to put it in. So just store it in an airtight glass jar in the fridge for future use and it will keep for a long time. Spread the epis all over the meat, going into the holes and making sure that it is well coated. I am using about 1.5 cups of epis here, but depending on the size of your pork shoulder, you might use more or less. Get every nook and cranny, but avoid putting epis on the skin. The reason why I don't recommend putting epis on top of the pork skin is because you want to use a salt-based seasoning on it instead, so that the skin can come out nice and crispy once it is cooked. So just go underneath the skin instead. Also, make sure you wash your hands really well before handling the meat. Make sure you get the epis into the slits as well, just to make sure that the seasoning well penetrates the meat. Also get under the skin, but not on top of the skin. Now for a key ingredient, Tabasco. It has to be Tabasco, guys. I will not accept pork that uses any hot sauce other than Tabasco on it. Anyway, add the Tabasco to all sides of the meat and under the skin. You don't have to use too much, but make sure you use a good amount. Underneath the skin here, we're going to add some sazon accent seasoning as well as adobo. Make sure you season it well and evenly. And adobo already has salt in it, so you don't have to add any additional salt to the meat. I'm also adding some fresh thyme under the skin, and I'm arranging it to make it look nice and pretty. Not that it really matters, it's gonna cook all the same anyway. And now I covered it back with the skin, and I'm adding some more sazon accent on top of the skin as well as adobo. You could marinate this in the refrigerator for a day or so, but if you don't have time, it will still come out amazing even if you don't marinate it. So now for the cook time, it varies by size. I have an 8-pound pork shoulder here, and I cooked it for 4.5 hours total. So 2 hours, 15 minutes covered, and then the next 2 hours, 15 minutes uncovered. If you have a pork shoulder that is over 8 pounds, then you will need about 5 minutes more per pound. If you don't have a cover for your roasting pan, then use aluminum foil to cover it and make sure that it is wrapped airtight. And now here is the pork shoulder out of the oven after the first half of cook time. I uncovered it so I can put it back in the oven for the second half of cook time. And now here it is out of the oven and it's done cooking. Also, make sure that you cook it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and please do not make the heat too high and don't broil the pork. You cannot broil pork, otherwise it will come out way too hard and tough. You can see that the skin is really crispy, which is what we want. I'm tapping it with a fork to demonstrate. And the meat is also nice and tender, as you can see, as I kind of pull it apart here with a fork so you can see how tender it is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, see ya! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making macaroni au gratin baked mac and cheese. You'll need 1 pound of rigatoni or penne cooked as directed. Over low heat, melt half a stick of salted butter and add 1 large onion and 4 garlic cloves to it. Add half a red bell pepper and half a green bell pepper. Make sure you add them last so they won't overcook. And stir everything together. Now we're adding our cooked macaroni or rigatoni or penne, whichever one you're using. And give it a good stir. Now add 2 teaspoons of salt, half a teaspoon of white pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Stir everything up. Melt another half stick of salted butter over low heat and add 2 tablespoons of flour little by little as you whisk. Add 2.5 cups of whole milk and whisk again. Add half a cup of Parmesan cheese and continue whisking. Add the mixture to the macaroni and stir. Add 3 cups of finely shredded sharp cheddar cheese. My cheese here is not finely shredded because that's all I had, but you know what? It's just as good anyway. Bake at 350 Fahrenheit for 30 to 45 minutes, and voila, you have a beautiful macaroni au gratin baked mac and cheese. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Please follow or subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making spaghetti with bell pepper, onions, scallions, and garlic. I actually have no idea what to call this, so let's just say it's one of my favorite spaghetti recipes. Without further ado, let's get started. Here I have 1 red bell pepper, 1 large chopped onion, 4 chopped scallions, and 4 minced garlic cloves. Over medium heat, melt 1 stick of salted butter and add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm having trouble getting the tomato paste out of my spoon here. Mix it together, kind of stir the tomato paste into the butter. Add the chopped onion, chopped scallions, minced garlic. Stir the pot and cook until light golden brown. I wish you could smell this through the screen. It smells really good. Now let's add our red bell pepper and stir. The bell pepper doesn't have to cook for too long. Well, now we're going to start working on our seasoning. In a cup, add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Combine and add it to the pot. Stir everything together. Then we're going to add our spaghetti. You just have to cook the spaghetti as instructed on the packaging. Also, no matter how small your pot is, please do not break your spaghetti to cook it. You don't need to do that. Just stir the spaghetti into the pan and you're done. Here's the spaghetti. She is absolutely beautiful. And now I'm just gonna top it with some parsley, which is optional but highly recommended. And it makes it look prettier too. I'm also adding parmesan, which is optional but totally recommended. And here is my spaghetti. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like, comment, and subscribe for more recipes. And share this video with your family and friends. Thank you once again. Bye. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making epis lobster with lemon garlic sauce. So we're gonna start by making our epis. As you can see, I have 3 bell peppers, a large onion, scallions, some garlic, parsley, and thyme. I also have a Scotch bonnet pepper and some lime, which I am going to juice to add to this. So I'm actually going to put all of this in a food processor, and once it is done, I will also add some dry seasonings to it. I'm adding a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of whole cloves, and don't worry about it being whole cloves. It's going to go in the food processor anyway, so it will get ground up. But if you're more comfortable using ground cloves instead, then that's fine. Add a tablespoon of mixed or all-purpose seasoning, and I'm also adding a sachet of accent seasoning. And I'm also adding a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Stir it together, and it's going to go in the food processor with the vegetables. Now I'm adding a tablespoon of lime juice and a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and I'm going to stir this mixture together. Now I know that this is a lot of seasoning and I'm only going to use as much as needed for the lobster, but what you can do is store this in a glass airtight container in the fridge for future use. It goes really well in meat, seafood, rice, pasta, whatever you like. So now we have our epis and we're going to go ahead and season our lobster with it. I took the lobster out of the shell so I can season every part of it really well. So make sure that you season the bottom, the sides, the top, every single part of the lobster. And you can use as much or as little epis as you want. It's really up to you. So I'm not going to tell you how much you need for each lobster tail that you are seasoning. I'm seasoning the bottom of the lobster tail right now, so once again, just make sure that you get every part of the lobster well seasoned. Here's our lobster. We will put it in the oven, but first we are going to prepare our lemon garlic sauce. And as you can see, I'm going to prepare it in the same pan that the lobster is in. I have a stick of salted butter split in half. I also sliced some lemon that I put in the pan as well. I'm adding some minced garlic to the pan, just about 2 minced garlic cloves. I squeezed some lemon juice in here as well. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley. So when you put this in the oven with the lobster, what's going to happen is that the butter will melt, the lemon and garlic will infuse their flavor into the butter as well as the parsley, and you'll get this really nice lemon garlic butter sauce. Now I'm adding a dash of cayenne pepper. You can really add as much or as little cayenne as you want, just as much as you can handle. I've split a stick of salted butter in half and I put it on top of the lobster. This is just to get the lobster really nice and juicy once it's out of the oven. Broil your lobster in the oven on low. Now, the amount of time it takes to cook the lobster depends on the size, so it can range from 10 to 20 minutes depending on how big the lobster is. And here is our beautiful lobster. I'm just adding our really nice lemon garlic butter sauce on top of it, which adds such a wonderful flavor to it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like, comment, and subscribe for more recipes like this. Thanks once again. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making fried chicken. We're going to start by preparing a marinade for the chicken. You will need a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of all-purpose seasoning or just mixed seasoning of choice, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, a quarter teaspoon of white pepper, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a quarter teaspoon of ground cloves, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and just 1 sachet of Sassoon accent. Now add half a cup of buttermilk. Now just combine the mixture and we're going to go ahead and season our chicken with it. We're just going to leave the chicken in there, and while we let that marinate, we'll go ahead and prepare the flour mixture for it. So I'm going to marinate the chicken for about 1 to 2 hours, and you can see that I'm making sure that every piece of chicken is well coated in the mixture. You want to get a lot of flavor out of this, so that's why we're going to let it marinate for about an hour or two. And in the meantime, we can just prepare the flour mixture. Now for the dry coating. So I'm adding 2 cups of flour, half a cup of cornstarch, add a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, a quarter teaspoon of white pepper, quarter teaspoon of ground cloves, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and now whisk the mixture well and make sure it's all well combined. I'm dividing the flour in half because we're only going to use half of it for the actual breading of the chicken, while the other half will be used to make a wet coating. And I'm transferring that half into a separate bowl. Now for the wet coating, we just need half a cup of buttermilk, whisk 2 large eggs, then add the eggs to the mixture and combine everything together. I know it looks like it's going to be kind of doughy, but I promise if you mix it long enough, you will eventually end up with this consistency that you see right here. And you can also add a little bit of hot sauce of choice if you want to it. Now it's time to coat our chicken. So I'm taking it out of the bowl in which I marinated it in, and I'm just coating it with our wet coating. And then I'm coating it in flour now. And then I'm going to put it in our pot of hot oil for frying. I highly recommend that you use an oil that's neutral in flavor. You don't want an oil that has a strong flavor to it because otherwise it could change the flavor of your chicken and you might not like it as much. So make sure you get like vegetable oil, which is really good for frying. To heat the oil, you should have it at medium-high heat. And once you are actually ready to fry the chicken, you can go ahead and reduce the heat down to medium. And then you can go and add your chicken to it and fry for about 15 to 18 minutes or until it is nice and golden and crispy. And once you're done frying, you just let the chicken rest on a plate on a paper towel to drain out any excess oil. And now you have your beautiful fried chicken. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please like, comment, and subscribe for more recipes like this. Thank you once again. Bye. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making one of my favorites, honey ginger garlic chicken. That's a long name, I know, but anyway, let's get started. Add 1.5 cup of Worcestershire. How do you say it? I butcher it every time. Anyway, add 1.5 cup of whatever you call this sauce. Next, add 1.5 cup of honey. It takes forever for the honey to come out of the bottle, so I was sitting there for a long time. Stir and make sure you stir well enough until the honey and whatever sauce are fully combined. Add a pinch of salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. Stir the mixture until the salt and garlic powder are dissolved. Add 12 minced garlic cloves. Add 3 tablespoons of minced fresh ginger. Please use fresh ginger and cut it yourself, not ground ginger or anything that comes pre-packaged for convenience. Use the real thing. It makes all the difference in the world. Add sliced or cubed chicken breast to a Ziploc bag. The chicken should be cleaned and brined before cooking. To brine the chicken, fill a large bowl with about 1/4 of warm water and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Stir the bowl, then you add the chicken, cover the bowl, refrigerate for up to 6 hours. You need to do this before seasoning and cooking chicken so that it comes out tender and juicy. Now only add half of the sauce to the Ziploc bag. The rest of the sauce will be cooked with the chicken later. Get the air out of the bag and close it. Here I'm gonna kind of like jiggle the bag around to make sure all of the chicken is well coated in the marinade. So just let this marinate for 30 minutes to an hour. And then once the time is up, we can go ahead and pour the chicken and marinade into a bowl. Add 3 tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot over medium heat. Heat the oil for long enough until it's ready to use for frying, and then we can go ahead and add all of the chicken from the bowl into the pot. Stir the pot well to make sure that the chicken will cook evenly. Now get the sauce we have yet to use and pour it into the pot. Stir and cook for about 10 to 12 minutes. You don't want to overcook the chicken because chicken breast can get hard very quickly, so be mindful of how long you're cooking it for. So we have to thicken the sauce. To do so, we need to get a separate bowl and add 2 tablespoons of flour to it, and then add some sauce from the pot little by little to the flour and stir vigorously like this until a paste forms. Then you can add the mixture back into the pot and stir, and then all of the sauce will start to thicken. Just stir very well to make sure it's all incorporated. Add some sliced bell peppers, and you can use whatever color you want, and add a sliced large onion to the pot. Go ahead and stir. Cover the pot, turn it to lowest heat, and simmer for 5 minutes. And here is our super tasty honey ginger garlic chicken. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Till next time, bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making 3 cheese broccoli. We will start by adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot. And over medium heat, we're going to melt a stick of salted butter. Add 1.5 tablespoons of all-purpose seasoning of your choice, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then just combine everything in the pot. And then we can go ahead and add our broccoli. Your broccoli should be washed, and make sure that there is no water in your pot of broccoli. Use 2 full heads of broccoli cut into florets. Cook the broccoli for 15 minutes over medium heat. Add 2 cups of heavy cream to the pot. Stir. I'm doing this with one hand so I can hold my camera so the pot's running away from me. I'm sorry for not using my tripod. So now we're adding 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese, preferably finely shredded. And then I'm just gonna stir this some more, and I really should have used my tripod. Okay. So now I'm gonna add half a cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm also adding a cup of feta cheese. I really love the feta cheese in this dish because it adds a really nice texture to the broccoli, and the Parmesan just has this really pleasant flavor. So all these 3 cheeses combined just makes such a beautiful broccoli dish. So now I'm transferred everything to a large baking dish, and I'm going to add some more cheese on top. You can use whichever cheese you like. You can use more cheddar, more Parmesan, more feta, or you can do all 3 on top. It's up to you. Once you're done adding the cheese on top, put the dish in the oven and bake at 375 Fahrenheit for 30 to 45 minutes or until the top is nice and golden brown. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a cheesy green bean casserole. Before we begin, here's something very important you need to know. Don't just use any kind of green beans for this recipe. Definitely go with French cut green beans. French cut green beans are much more thinner and tender than regular green beans. So you will get a better texture with French cut green beans than if you were to use regular green beans for this recipe. We're gonna start by melting 1 stick of salted butter. Over medium heat, we are going to add 1 large onion to the pot, as well as 4 garlic cloves. Cook until lightly golden brown. Now we're gonna add some bell peppers to the pot. This will add not only flavor but also color to the dish. Don't cook the bell peppers for too long. About 3 minutes should be good enough. We don't want our bell peppers to overcook. Plus, everything will go in the oven at some point, so they will continue to cook in there. Now we're gonna add 2 pounds of French cut green beans. And I just made a mess there. So now we're just gonna stir everything together. We are still keeping our heat at medium, and we're just gonna let everything cook in here. We don't need to cook our green beans for too long, just about 10 minutes. And now we're gonna add a pound of sliced mushrooms. And now we're gonna cook our mushrooms for about 10 minutes, still leaving our heat at medium. So now we're gonna transfer everything into a separate bowl. As we are collecting the vegetables from the pot, just leave all the juices and water in there because we are going to use that to make the next component of this dish. Beat 1 large egg, and to 1 cup of cold milk, add 4 tablespoons of flour and whisk. Add the beaten egg to the mixture and whisk again. Now back to the pot. You can see that there's still some of the water from the green beans and mushrooms in there. That is fine. Like I said before, we will be using this. I'm just gonna add 1.5 cups of heavy cream to the pot now. Add a teaspoon of all-purpose seasoning of your choice. Add a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder. Whisk everything together. You can turn the heat to the lowest heat setting now and just heat the heavy cream for about 2 minutes. Then turn the heat off. Add the milk, flour, and egg mixture to the pot and whisk constantly. You do not want the heat to still be on at this point, otherwise your flour will begin to clump together. So once you start, you cannot turn away from the pot. So now we can add our cheese. Add half a cup of Parmesan cheese. Stir immediately after adding it. Add 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese and stir. Remember that your stove should be off right now. So we are done with this part now. What we have to do next is add the vegetables back to the pot. So we're stirring our vegetables back into the pot. We do not need to cook them anymore on the stove, so make sure your stove is off at this point. Transfer everything to a large baking dish and bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes to 1 hour or until golden brown at the top. And here is our beautiful, creamy, cheesy green bean casserole. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, like, and comment, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thank you once again. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making cheddar parmesan biscuits. You'll need 2 1/3 cup of flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Grab a whisk and make sure everything is well combined. We're going to add 1 large egg to 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Make sure it is well combined before we add it to our flour mixture. Add 1 1/2 sticks of salted butter, softened, and beat it with a mixer. You can do it by hand as well, but a mixer is more efficient. Add 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese, preferably finely shredded. Add half a cup of Parmesan cheese and 3/4 cups of whole milk. It doesn't matter whether you add the milk or cheese first. Don't worry about the way in which I'm adding it. It's gonna look like a lot of liquid at first, but I promise it's not. Just keep mixing until it's well combined. Heat your oven to 425 Fahrenheit and bake for 15 to 20 minutes depending on the size of the biscuits. Each biscuit should be between 2 to 4 tablespoons large. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making a cornbread souffle. Start by whisking 2 large eggs in a big bowl. Add 2 15-ounce cans of whole kernel corn. Add 1 15-ounce can of creamed corn. Just stir everything together. Next, we're going to add 2 sticks of melted salted butter and 1 cup of buttermilk. I'm adding half a cup of sugar. If you want, you can use less or you can leave it out. I just like my cornbread sweet. Now I am adding two 8.5-ounce boxes of Jiffy corn muffin mix. Combine all the ingredients. Transfer the mixture to a greased baking dish and bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thank you once again. Bye. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making one of my favorite soups, chicken bouillon. It has chicken, obviously, and it also has spinach, plantains, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, carrots, dumplings, tomatoes, pretty much everything that makes a soup really good. It's pretty easy and fun to make too. Let's get started. We're gonna start by seasoning our chicken breasts. I have 2 pounds of chicken breast and I cut them into chunks. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of adobo, and a pinch of salt. Mix everything together and then set the bowl aside. To a large stock pot over medium heat, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Stir the tomato paste into the pot and kind of crush it into the oil until it's well combined with it. And now let's add 1 large chopped onion. Stir and cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now let's transfer our chicken over to the pot, stirring it occasionally to make sure you get all the sides browned and cooked evenly. Let's add 3 chopped Roma tomatoes to the pot and let's stir it in. Add a sprig of fresh parsley. Add 1 10-ounce bag of spinach. Stir the spinach into the pot and let it reduce as it cooks. Add 4 sliced garlic cloves. And now let's pour in 12 cups of water. Now let's add 2 pounds of carrots, 2 to 3 white potatoes cut into cubes, and 2 pounds of sweet potato cut into cubes. And also add 2 plantains that are either green or just slightly yellow. Just make sure you're not using completely yellow plantains, otherwise they will get too soft as they're cooking in the soup. And make sure that you cut the plantains immediately before you use them so they won't change in color by the time you are ready to put them in the pot. Add 1 tablespoon of adobo, half a teaspoon of thyme, 2 sachets of sazon accent, and 1 chicken bouillon cube. Let the soup boil at medium-high heat until the carrots, potatoes, and plantains are all nice and tender. We're going to make little dumplings for the soup now. To a separate bowl, add 2 cups of flour and half a teaspoon of salt. Sift and combine with a fork. Add 1 cup of water and now knead by hand until a dough comes together. So now we have our dough, and this is the consistency, or this is the texture that you are looking for. Now I am flattening out the dough into the bowl. I'm making sure that it is even, so that's why you see me doing this with my fist here. So now let's cut it into sections. Make sure that each section is even in size. So here I took a section of the dough, roll each section of the dough into a ball like so, and then roll it on a flat surface until it forms kind of like a little log shape. And this is about the size you're looking for. Just make sure you don't roll it out too thin or too thick. And now I have a bunch of them that I just finished, and I'm going to add them to the soup. Drop the dumplings into the soup and make sure that they are fully submerged as you are adding them to the pot. You will know when the dumplings are done cooking when you take them out and they are nice and fluffy inside rather than dense and doughy. Once everything is done cooking, remove the pot from the heat and give it one more good stir. And now we are done. Here is our delicious chicken bunio soup. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes like this one. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making chicken, shrimp, and okra. It is so bold and spicy, so full of flavor. Let's get started. Let's start by making our chicken. I'm using 4 pounds of chicken thighs, but chicken legs and wings are great too. Add 1 tablespoon of adobo, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Stir everything together. Add a 1/4 cup of buffalo sauce and stir one more time. And then we can go ahead and cover our chicken and leave it to marinate in the fridge for just a few hours. Now let's prepare our shrimp. In a separate bowl, I have 2 pounds of shrimp. Raw shrimp, please, not pre-cooked. Add 1½ teaspoon of adobo, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of hot sauce. I recommend using either Scotch bonnet, habanero, or chili garlic sauce for shrimp. Stir everything together. And then to a pot over medium heat, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 stick of salted butter. Once the butter has melted, add 4 minced garlic cloves and cook for 2 minutes. Add 1 chopped onion and cook for another 2 minutes. Add the shrimp to the pot and cook on each side for 1 minute over medium heat. We will continue to cook them later, so you do not have to try to cook them fully right now. Once we are done cooking them, we're going to go ahead and transfer them back into a bowl along with the sauce that they produced. Do not discard the sauce because we are going to use it later. So just place the sauce in a separate bowl or a cup and set everything aside. To the same pot over medium heat, add 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Once the oil is hot, add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and stir. Make sure you try to blend in the tomato paste as well as you can with the oil. It's not going to be able to blend fully because this is tomato paste we are dealing with here. But here I'm just using a spatula to make sure that I kind of crush it into the oil. Then add the chicken separate from the marinade. You do not want to cook the marinade along with the chicken. So cook the chicken without the cover for a few minutes until brown, stirring occasionally. The amount of time it takes to cook the chicken might depend on whether you are using breast or thigh or leg or wings. So just simply cook until browned, and then once you're done with that, turn the heat down to low and cover the pot for 10 to 15 minutes or until the meat is nice and tender. Then transfer the chicken out of the pot to a bowl containing the shrimp. Then you can set that aside. Here I have the sauce from the chicken, and I also have the sauce that was produced after we cooked the shrimp. So to the same pot, add the sauce from the chicken and the sauce from the shrimp. Over medium heat, bring it to a boil. Stir to combine, and once the sauces have come to a full boil, add 2 pounds of whole okra to the pot. The amount of sauce in the pot should be at the same level as the okra. So if you have excess sauce in the pot, take out some of it, but save it just in case. And if you don't have enough sauce in the pot, then add just a little bit of water until it reaches the same level as the okra. Also, make sure that your okra is washed and drained before you cook it. You do not want to have any excess water remaining in your bowl of okra before you put it in the pot to cook. Your okra has to be kept whole. Don't cut off the heads of the okra or else the fluid will get into it and it will become soggy. Stir the pot, then cover and cook until the okra is tender, about 5 to 8 or 10 minutes. Stir the pot again and add 2 teaspoons of dried Italian seasoning. Also add 4 sachets of accent seasoning, Sazón accent in particular, which in this part I forgot to add, so you'll see me adding it last thing in the video. Add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste diluted with 2/3 cup of water, and add 1 tablespoon of either Scotch bonnet or habanero sauce. Stir the pot again, and then we're going to go ahead and add the bowl of chicken and shrimp back to the pot and stir. And now you see me adding the 4 sachets of Sazón accent, which I had forgotten earlier. So cover and cook for another 5 minutes, then remove it from the heat. And here is our chicken, shrimp, and okra. It's great on its own or served over white rice. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, see ya! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making rice and black beans, or ricolé au haricot noir. Let's get started. Start by preparing the black beans. I boiled a 12-ounce to 1-pound bag of dry black beans in 14 cups of water over medium heat for an hour and 45 minutes or until the beans are tender. Once finished, you need to transfer the beans to a bowl or a cup and transfer the water from the cooked beans to a measuring cup, as this water will be used to cook the rice. Add a 1/4 cup of olive oil to a large pot over medium heat. Add 4 minced garlic cloves. Stir and cook for 2 minutes or until they are just a little bit golden. We are trying to infuse the olive oil with some of that garlic flavor. Add 1 chopped onion, stir, and cook for 2 minutes. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of epis seasoning to the pot, and if you've seen my other videos, you know that I use epis seasoning a lot. To prepare our epis, we need 2 bell peppers, 1 large onion, a bunch of scallions, about 10 garlic cloves, 1 bunch of fresh thyme, a bunch of parsley, and 1 Scotch bonnet pepper or habanero pepper. Put everything in a food processor, and to it, we will add 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of whole cloves, 2 tablespoons of adobo, or you can use whatever kind of mixed seasoning you like, 1 sachet of accent seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Combine everything, and don't worry about the whole cloves because it's going in the food processor, but if you prefer to use ground cloves instead, then that's fine. So combine these dry seasonings and add it to the food processor with the vegetables. And now we have our bowl of epis, and to it add 1 tablespoon of lime juice and a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I know that this is a lot of seasoning we just made here, but this is a good seasoning that you can use in meat, seafood, rice, pasta, whatever you want to put it in. So just store it in an airtight glass jar in the fridge for future use, and it will keep for a long time. So in goes our epis. And I'm also adding 1 tablespoon of hot sauce. The hot sauce is optional, but I use either Scotch bonnet or habanero sauce for this recipe. Now let's add the beans. There are 2 cups of the cooked beans here. Stir it in. And then to this, we're gonna add the bean water. I don't know if that sounds right. Add the water from the cooked beans. Yeah, that sounds better. And then we're gonna use that water to cook the rice. I have a total of about 5 cups of water from the beans here. And we are cooking 4 cups of parboiled rice. Now let's add the seasoning. 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, and either 1 teaspoon of thyme leaves or a sprig of fresh thyme. Stir everything together, and when we add our rice, make sure that your rice has been rinsed well until the water runs clear, and this is to remove excess starch from the rice so that it comes out nice and fluffy. Oh, and I'm also adding a tablespoon of adobo. You can use whatever other mixed seasoning you like, but I like adobo. Our pot is over medium-high heat, and once it comes to a boil, let's add 4 cups of parboiled rice. Stir the pot, and we're gonna leave the pot uncovered to cook the rice for 15 to 20 minutes. Once that time is up, stick the spoon into the bottom of the pot and shift the rice a little to the side to check to see if the water has dissipated from the bottom. If not, add another minute to the cook time and keep checking. Once the water has completely dissipated, stir the pot. Then cover the pot and return the heat down to the lowest heat setting to simmer the rice for 10 minutes. Once done simmering, remove the pot from the heat and stir the pot one last time to keep the rice from sticking. And here are our rice and black beans. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks once again. See ya! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making rice and beans, also known as ricole. So we're going to start by making a seasoning for our rice. As you can see, it's a vegetable-based seasoning. So I have bell peppers, onions, garlic, scallions, and some herbs. I also have a Scotch bonnet pepper, but you can use habanero instead if you want. And I also have a lime. So I'm going to put all of this in a food processor or a blender. Once I'm done blending it into a paste, I'm going to go ahead and put together my dry seasonings, which I will add to the vegetable seasoning. So I have a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of black pepper. I am also going to add some cloves, some all-purpose seasoning. It can be any all-purpose seasoning of your choice, it is up to you. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I'm going to stir everything together. Don't worry about the whole cloves in there. This is just going to go in the food processor anyway, so you don't have to worry about getting all those bits in your food. So I'm also adding a tablespoon of lime juice and a quarter cup of olive oil to the seasoning, and I'm going to stir everything together. I know this is a lot of seasoning and I'm only going to use 4 tablespoons of this in the rice. However, you should store this in an airtight glass jar in the fridge for future use. You can use it in meat, seafood, rice, pasta, whatever you like. It's a really good seasoning and it goes well in just about anything you put it in. On to the next part. Here I have some onions, some garlic, and I have wrapped together a sprig of thyme and some parsley. Now I also have a jalapeno pepper that I had poked several cloves through. I have about 12 or 15 cloves here, and the reason why I did this is because I want to get the flavor of the cloves for the rice as well as the flavor and heat from the jalapeno pepper. So this is a good way to get those two flavors into your rice without losing your cloves inside the pot. So all you have to do at the end is just take out the jalapeno pierced with the cloves out of the pot once you're done cooking your rice. Alternatively, you can just go ahead and use some ground cloves instead, as well as perhaps some jalapeno sauce to get that same flavor that you would with the whole pepper and whole cloves. Here I've added 4 tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot, and I'm going to put my onions and garlic in there. And I'm going to go ahead and cook that just until it is slightly golden brown. I'm doing this at low heat. So then once I am done with this part, I'm going to go ahead and add the epis to the pot. I am using 4 tablespoons of epis here, and I'm just going to stir that in with the onions and garlic. And now I'm going to add my 2 cans of beans. I am using small red beans here. So I am just stirring this in. And then once I am making sure everything's well combined, I'm going to add 5 cups of water to the pot. If you like your rice a little softer, you can go ahead and add another ½ cup of water. I'm also adding some salt to it, as well as some black pepper, and I'm going to stir everything together. And I'm going to bring the water to a boil at medium-high heat. I'm also adding my thyme and parsley as well as the clove-pierced jalapeno pepper. And now I am adding 4 cups of parboiled rice to the pot. So now I am stirring the pot and I'm going to leave it uncovered while the rice cooks at medium-high heat. After 15 minutes, stir the pot again. Use the spoon to shift the rice over to the side to see if the water has completely evaporated yet. If not, let it continue to cook for a little longer. You want to make sure that there is no water remaining at the bottom of the pot. Once the water has dissipated from the bottom and you no longer see it at the bottom of the pot, go ahead and cover your rice and reduce the heat to low. Simmer the rice for 10 to 15 minutes. Once you're done simmering, stir the rice again and take it off the heat. Cover it again for a few minutes before serving. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, comment, and like for more videos like this. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thanks so much once again. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making chicken fried rice. It's bold and full of flavor, and it has peas, carrots, eggs, all that good stuff. So let's get started. Let's start by seasoning our chicken. Here I have 2 pounds of chicken thighs cut into chunks. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Stir everything to combine, and then we can set this aside to marinate for a little bit. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and prepare our eggs. To 4 eggs, add a pinch of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a little bit of black pepper, and a dash of cayenne pepper. Whisk everything together. In a large pan, add 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and then we're going to pour in our eggs. Cook the eggs and kind of break them up, or scramble rather, while you're cooking them. Transfer them to a bowl once you're done and set aside. To the same pan over medium heat, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and add 4 minced garlic cloves and 2 tablespoons of fresh minced ginger. Cook for about a minute or 2. Add 1 chopped onion and cook for about another 2 minutes. Let's add our chicken to the pot, and we're gonna cook it until the meat is brown. Add 4 chopped scallions and continue cooking for a couple more minutes. Transfer the chicken to a bowl and set aside. To the same pot over medium heat, add 1 tablespoon of olive oil and add 4 minced garlic cloves and add 1 chopped onion. Cook for about 2 minutes. Add 1 cup of peas, frozen peas preferably. Add 1 cup of chopped carrots and cook for 10 minutes or until the peas and carrots are tender. Add 4 chopped scallions to the pot and cook for another 2 minutes. Add 1 teaspoon of sugar. You want sugar in here because we are adding soy sauce to this dish, and soy sauce has a lot of salt in it, and because we don't want this to come out salty, you want to be able to neutralize that saltiness, and the sugar helps with that. Add 6 cups of cooked rice. It takes about 4 cups of uncooked rice cooked with 4 cups of water and 4 tablespoons of olive oil to produce this much rice. The rice has to be cold before using. If your rice has just been cooked, then put it in the refrigerator for a while or preferably overnight before you use it. Also, the rice should have little to no salt at all in it because, again, we are going to be adding soy sauce to it, which already contains salt, and we do not want this to come out salty. Add half a cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a third of a cup of hoisin sauce, and 2 tablespoons of chili garlic sauce. Stir everything together. Add 4 tablespoons of salted butter. Here you can see that I made a little pit inside the pot so that way the butter can cook quickly while I stir the rice in the pot. Now let's add our chicken and add our eggs and stir one more time. And then once you're done stirring, remove the pot from the heat. And here is our delicious chicken fried rice. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much once again. Until next time, bye! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making chicken parmesan pasta. It's really good, one of my favorite recipes ever. Let's get started. Add 1 stick of salted butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot over medium heat. Add 4 minced garlic cloves. Give it a good stir. Add 1 large chopped onion. Stir and cook for just about 2 to 3 minutes. Add some bell pepper. I'm using 3 different colors of bell pepper, but if you want, you can use just 1 color or 2 colors. It doesn't matter. It should just add up to roughly about 1 whole bell pepper. The bell pepper only needs to be cooked for about 2 minutes. Add a chopped tomato and continue cooking for another 2 minutes. Add half a pound of chicken or about 1 cup of chopped chicken. The chicken should already be seasoned and cooked. Stir it into the pot and cook for just about 3 minutes. Now it's time to add our seasonings. Add 4 teaspoons of mixed seasoning. I use adobo. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of black pepper. Stir the pot and make sure everything is well combined. Add 3 cups of heavy cream. Stir the pot and then we can add our pasta. Just cook the pasta as instructed on the packaging. I used rigatoni, but penne or any other ridged short pasta is good. Stir the pasta in. And here comes my favorite part. Add 1 cup of Parmesan cheese. Stir the pot, making sure that everything is well combined. Add 1 teaspoon of salt. I actually forgot to add it earlier when I was doing the seasonings, but it's all good. And here is our chicken Parmesan pasta. Pretty easy and super good. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Till next time. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a creamy tomato and spinach pasta with ham. It is super good and full of flavor. So let's get started. Start by cooking the pasta. Just cook it as directed and use either penne, rigatoni, or any short pasta you like. Also, do not discard all of the water from the pasta. You should save some for the sauce. Now let's start by peeling our tomatoes. Cut slits into the skin of each tomato 4 times, turning the tomato after each slice. Don't cut in too deep, only go into the skin. And once you are done cutting the slits, place the tomato in a pot of boiling water for about 10-20 seconds. Roll the tomato around in the water with a spoon, then remove it from the pot. And you can see here that a little piece of the skin has come off slightly from the tomato. So now let's take it out with the spoon and be careful not to burn yourself. And now I am putting in another tomato. Just roll it around a little bit and then you can take it out of the pot after a few seconds. So once the tomatoes are out of the water, give them a couple of seconds to cool off before removing the skin. Use a knife to peel off the skin, and you can see how easily the skin comes off without having to butcher the tomato. By the way, I am using Roma tomatoes for this recipe, but San Marzano tomatoes work great too. Before moving on to make the sauce, make sure you cook the pasta first and save some of the water from it. Now to a large pot over medium heat, add 3 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 stick of salted butter. Once the butter has melted, add 4 minced garlic cloves, stir, and cook for 2 minutes. Add 1 chopped onion and cook for another 2 minutes. Now let's add our ham. Use 1 pound of cooked ham. Add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and stir until everything is well coated with the tomato paste. And now let's add our tomatoes. Once again, I am using 3 Roma tomatoes. Stir them in, and then we can add our seasonings. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of thyme. Stir the pot, and we actually have more seasonings to add later, but for now we're gonna stir. And then let's add some reserve water from the pasta. I am using 1 cup of water, but I recommend that you start with less and stir as you are adding because perhaps you might want your sauce to be thicker. Add 2 sachets of Sazón accent, 1 tablespoon of adobo, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. Stir the pot, and don't worry about the order in which I added my seasonings, like how I added seasoning before adding the pasta water and how I just added some after. You can and should just add all of your seasonings at the same time, and whether you do so before or after adding the pasta water is up to you. Now let's add 2 chopped scallions and 1 chopped shallot. Add 1 fresh sprig of oregano with the stem removed and 3 fresh basil leaves. Add 3 cups of spinach. Stir, and the spinach will reduce in the pot. Now these ingredients, the fresh herbs and spinach, should be added after you add this reserved pasta water to the pot so that the fresh herbs can boil in the sauce and you can get that infusion of the flavor from the herbs. Now we want our sauce to be nice and creamy, so I have a 1/3 cup of mayo. To add the mayo, measure out the mayo and mix it with some of the sauce and chunks in the pot to help dissolve the mayo so that way it can incorporate fully into the pot once we add it. So just pour the mixture into the pot and add 1/2 cup of heavy cream and stir. And you can see here how nice and creamy the sauce got from the mayo and heavy cream. And finally, let's add our pasta. Use a 1-pound box of pasta. It could be penne or rigatoni or any short pasta you like. Stir and let it cook for just 5 minutes. And here is our delicious and creamy tomato spinach pasta. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks once again. See ya. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making 3 cheese baked mashed potatoes. We're gonna start by peeling, then cooking our potatoes. You can cook your potatoes in the microwave for about 4 to 6 minutes or until tender, or you can boil them just until tender. I'm using 4 pounds of potatoes. So now we're gonna mash them and add 1 stick of butter and 3/4 cup of mayo. I actually added my mayo first before I filmed this, so I'm so sorry about not including that piece of footage. So I'm just incorporating everything into the potatoes. I'm also adding 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper, 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, a cup of sharp cheddar cheese, a cup of feta cheese, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I don't know if you can see me adding it, but it's there. I'm mixing everything together, but I am going to add just a little bit more mayo to add up to 3/4 cup of it. Mashed potatoes have to be moist, soft, and creamy, so adding mayo to it as well as the heavy cream definitely helps to add some of that rich creaminess to mashed potatoes. And as you notice, I actually did all of this in the dish that I'm going to bake the potatoes in. So basically, this is just like a 1 bowl or 1 pot, whatever you want to call it, thing that I'm doing here just for convenience. So you can definitely prepare your mashed potatoes in the same dish that you are going to bake them in, as long as it's oven safe. Now bake the potatoes for 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. For more recipes like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Bye! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making sweet potato casserole. It is so good and really easy to make, and it has nice little hints of vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg in it that just brings it all together so beautifully and just, it's amazing. Anyway, let's get started. Here I have 4 pounds of sweet potato, and I'm boiling them just until they are tender. Just make sure that you don't boil them for too long because it's very easy for them to come out too soft and you don't want that. Then just peel them and cut them into cubes like so. Here I am adding 1 cup of coconut milk. No, it's not really going to taste like coconut, but it does add some nice flavor to it. And I'm adding 1 cup of heavy cream. Add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and about a pinch of nutmeg. Add 1 stick of melted unsalted butter. Add 1 cup of dark brown sugar. Stir until everything is combined. To a separate bowl, add half a cup of heavy cream and add a 1/4 cup of sifted all-purpose flour. Whisk until combined. The purpose of this is to give the casserole some structure. We don't want something that falls apart and that isn't neat. You want it to be uniform in shape and structure. So now let's go ahead and add 2 eggs and continue whisking until combined. Add the mixture to the pot, and then we can go ahead and give it another good stir before we go and transfer it into our baking dish. I'm just going to go ahead and grease a 9x13 baking dish with some cooking spray, or you could use some butter if you want to. And then I'm just pouring the contents of the pot into the baking dish. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, bake the casserole for 1 hour or until it is set and no longer wiggly when you kind of jiggle the baking dish around and it comes out with a nice, beautiful color like you see here. And we are done, and here is our delicious sweet potato casserole. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much once again. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making salad russe, which is a nice colorful salad made mostly with potatoes, hard-boiled eggs, beets, and some other colorful vegetables. It's super easy and quick to make. Let's get started. Boil 5 eggs until hard, which takes about 12 minutes. Then remove the shells. Then peel and boil or microwave 3 large potatoes until tender. Once they are tender, take them out and cut them into large chunks like I did here. Boil 12 ounces of frozen peas over medium heat for about 10 minutes or until they settle to the top and are tender. Cut, then boil 5 carrots over medium heat until tender, and once they are done boiling, chop them into small pieces like I did here. I also have some yellow carrots here too, which is optional, but I just like the color of yellow carrots. And here I have some beets. You can use either 3 large beets boiled, then chopped or sliced, or you could use 2 15-ounce cans of beets. Just be careful when using beets as they can stain your clothes, your surfaces, and your cookware. To a large bowl, add the cooked potatoes, carrots, peas, and beets. And here you can see that I'm pouring in my chopped hard-boiled eggs. Add 1 1/3 cup of mayo. Stir until everything is well combined. Now add 2 tablespoons of adobo, 2 sachets of sazon accent, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. You can add salt to taste. Stir the bowl until everything is well combined and you're done. Wasn't that super easy? And it's so pretty and colorful. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks once again. Bye. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a Greek-style pasta salad. It is so delicious and it has feta cheese, parmesan cheese, carrots, peas, jalapeno pepper, black olives, and a bunch of other stuff that just makes it so good and delicious. Let's get started. Cook 1 pound of carrots until tender. You could use either baby cut or chopped carrots. Add 1 chopped onion to the carrots. And here I am cooking 1 cup of frozen peas until they are tender. And I also have a cup of green beans. Let's add our frozen peas to the carrots. Add 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of basil, half a teaspoon of black pepper. Stir everything together. I almost forgot, but add the string beans to the pot as well. To a large bowl, add 1 pound of cooked rotini or fusilli pasta, and don't make a mess like I did just now. And now let's add our mixture of vegetables to the bowl. Add 1 cup of corn and half a cup of sliced black olives. Add half a pound of cooked and chopped ham, or you could use chicken, tuna, whatever kind of meat or fish you like. Add 2 sliced jalapeno peppers and half a cup of sliced bell peppers. Add 1 cup of mayo and stir it in. Add half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I use seasoned Parmesan cheese, but of course you can use regular plain Parmesan. And then add 1 cup of feta cheese. This part is optional, but I'm adding some cayenne pepper on top to add some more color. And here is our delicious Greek-style pasta salad. It is so good, and look how colorful it is. Oh, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a super delicious crustless spinach and ham quiche. It's really easy to make and it is so full of flavor. I love it so much. Let's get started. To a large pot over medium heat, add half a stick of salted butter. Once it melts, add 4 minced garlic cloves. Stir and let the garlic cook for a couple of minutes until it browns. Add 1 cup of a chopped onion. Stir and let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Add 1 pound of spinach to the pot. Press the spinach down with a spoon as you're cooking it and let it cook until it reduces. Stir the pot and make sure that everything is well combined. In a separate bowl, whisk together 4 eggs and 1 cup of heavy cream. Add 2 teaspoons of onion powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a pinch of salt. Whisk until combined. Add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour and continue whisking. This is to make sure that the quiche holds together, so the flour is going to give it some structure. Now let's add the mixture to the pot. Stir everything together. Now let's add 1 cup of finely shredded sharp cheddar cheese and add half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm using seasoned Parmesan cheese here, but of course you can just use regular Parmesan. Stir until everything is well combined. Add 1 cup of chopped bell pepper. And now let's add half a pound of cooked and cubed ham. And let's stir everything together. Grease a pie dish with cooking spray. And now let's transfer the filling into the pie dish. Bake at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, or until it comes out nice and golden brown at the top like you see here. Here is our delicious crustless spinach and ham quiche. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes like this, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much once again. Bye! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a spinach pizza quiche. I call it a pizza quiche because it is a quiche inside of a pizza crust, so I thought I'd get creative there. I don't know, it kind of looks like a spinach deep dish pizza. And it is so good, loaded with cheddar cheese and parmesan cheese. It is full of flavor and super delicious. Let's get started. Add 2¼ cup of all-purpose flour to a bowl, and then add 1 packet of instant dry yeast. By the way, when you're using instant dry yeast like I am doing here, you do not need to put it in water so it can bloom. With this type of yeast, you do not have to let the dough rest. So now let's add 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm also adding a little bit of onion powder and garlic powder. And this is totally optional, to be honest, but I just like to have an extra touch of flavor in my pizza crust, so you can add it if you want to, leave it out. It's not really a necessity. And then now let's add 1 teaspoon of sugar and whisk all of our dry ingredients together until they are well combined. And then we are going to add 1 cup of water and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now let's knead the dough by hand until everything is well combined and a dough comes together. So you can see how the texture of the dough looks, and this is the texture we're looking for. Just make sure you get all the flour combined into it until there's like no more flour staying in the bowl. So now I am putting the dough in a bowl, and I put some oil around the bowl to keep the dough from sticking. And then I'm just going to cover it and let it rest for about an hour at room temperature. And let's put some flour on our work surface. And now that my dough has rested for an hour, you can see how it has gotten bigger, which is nice. That's what we're looking for. And make sure that you're putting it on top of a floured work surface, and also add some more flour on top of the dough as well, so that way you won't have it sticking all over the place. Now let's stretch out the dough, and then we are actually going to fold it over again and knead it just a little bit more. The amount of dough here could actually make 2 quiches, or you could save half of it to make something else. So I split it in half at this point so I can go ahead and use the other half for something else. So here is the dough inside of a pie dish. And I'm just going to stretch it out into the pie dish until it fits. Flatten out the dough around the pie dish until it fits well, like you see here. And I'm just pressing it with my fingers just to make sure that it fits evenly over the pie dish. Using a fork, poke a bunch of holes into the crust just to make sure that it cooks evenly in the oven. Now let's make our filling. To a large pot over medium heat, add half a stick of salted butter. Once it melts, add 4 minced garlic cloves. Stir and let the garlic cook for a couple of minutes until it browns. Add 1 cup of a chopped onion. Stir and let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. Add 1 pound of spinach to the pot. Press the spinach down with a spoon as you're cooking it and let it cook until it reduces. Stir the pot and make sure that everything is well combined. In a separate bowl, whisk together 4 eggs and 1 cup of heavy cream. Add 2 teaspoons of onion powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a pinch of salt. Whisk until combined. Add a quarter cup of all-purpose flour and continue whisking. This is to make sure that the quiche holds together, so the flour is going to give it some structure. Now let's add the mixture to the pot. Stir everything together. Now let's add 1 cup of finely shredded sharp cheddar cheese and add half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm using seasoned Parmesan cheese here, but of course you can just use regular Parmesan. Stir until everything is well combined. And here is the mixture. Now let's transfer the mixture to the crust. Let's add some more Parmesan cheese on top. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour or until it is nice and golden brown like you see here, and it looks so good. I love it. And here is our spinach pizza quiche. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a tarte à l'oignon. Onions combined with a creamy bechamel sauce in a rich pâte brisée crust. It's one of my favorite recipes, so let's get started. In a large bowl, add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a quarter teaspoon of salt. Sift and combine with a fork. Ideally, you should sift the flour with a sifter, but a fork works great too. Add a stick and 2 tablespoons of butter, which is a half cup plus 2 tablespoons of butter. It should be cold but not too cold that you cannot work it into the flour, and it should be cut into cubes. Knead by hand until you get a crumbly texture. Add 1 egg yolk, just the yolk, not a whole egg. Knead by hand until combined. Add half a cup of milk, little by little, kneading after each addition until a dough forms. Once the dough has come together, shape it into a ball. Then, wrap it in a plastic wrap or in an airtight Ziploc bag and chill it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. Flour the surface where you will be rolling out the dough. Flour the rolling pin as well. Once the dough is done chilling, take it out and put it on the work surface. Roll out the dough evenly until it is flat and large enough to fit over the baking dish, but try not to make it too thin. Now roll the dough onto the rolling pin and then unroll it over the baking dish. Straighten it out if you need to, just to make sure that it fits well into the baking dish, and then trim the edges off with either kitchen shears or a knife. Here's the beautiful pâte brisée crust. Now, with a fork, poke holes into the bottom of the crust. This is to make sure that the crust cooks evenly while it's in the oven. Now we can set the crust aside and then we can get started on the filling. To a large pot over medium heat, add 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of salted butter. Once the butter has melted, add 3 large sliced onions. Stir and cook for about 15 minutes. The onions need to be soft and tender. Once they're done, transfer the onions to a bowl. In a separate bowl, beat 2 large eggs with a tablespoon of milk. Back to the same pot over the lowest heat setting, melt 2 tablespoons of salted butter, then add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and stir it immediately and quickly because you don't want the flour to burn. Turn off the heat at this point. While you're stirring, add 1 cup of heavy cream, or if you have access to it, use crème fraîche. Stir, then add the seasonings. Add 2 teaspoons of mixed seasoning. I use adobo, which already has salt in it, but if you prefer to use something else, that's fine. Add half a teaspoon of white pepper and half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Stir well to make sure everything's well incorporated. It might be better to use a whisk for this part. Add the beaten eggs and whisk until it's all well combined. Next, we're gonna add cheese. Add 4 ounces of grated cheese, which is about 1 cup. I used parmesan, which is really great in this recipe. I also recommend aged Edam, Gouda, or Gruyere. Transfer the onions back to the pot and combine the mixture. Make sure the onions are well coated in the bechamel sauce. Transfer the onions into the pâte brisée crust. As you are filling the crust, make sure everything is spread out evenly. Bake for 40 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or until the crust is slightly brown. You can also top it with more cheese if you like before you put it in the oven. I took mine out halfway through baking because I forgot to add the cheese earlier. Once it's done baking, let it sit for about 4 hours before serving so the crust sets. And here is our beautiful and delicious tarte à l'oignon. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like, comment, and subscribe for more recipes like this. And also, share this video and my other videos with your family and friends. See you next time. Bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making chicken pot pie. It has a wonderful mix of chicken and vegetables combined into a creamy sauce, all within a delicious crust. I make a pâte brisée for mine, and I'll show you how to make it in this video, but you can definitely use store-bought pie crust for this recipe if you prefer. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our pot pie. We'll start with the filling. To a large pot over medium heat, add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Add 1 cup of peas, frozen peas, please, not the stuff in the can. Now add a pound of chopped fresh carrots. Add about 5 chopped celery sticks. Stir, then cover the pot and let the vegetables cook for a few minutes until they are soft and tender. Now to a separate pot over medium heat, add 2 tablespoons of salted butter. Let it melt. Add a chopped onion and cook it for about 3 minutes. Then add a bell pepper and cook it for 3 minutes. Add a tablespoon of olive oil to the pot and stir. Now add a 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour to the pot and stir quickly and vigorously. You don't want the flour to burn, so you have to work quickly at this point. Add 3 cups of heavy cream to the pot and continue stirring. Make sure you don't burn the mixture. Once everything is well combined, remove the pot from the heat. Now let's add this mixture to the vegetables and combine, then we'll start seasoning. Add a tablespoon of mixed seasoning. I use adobo, but you can use whatever mixed seasoning you like. It's up to you. Now add 2 teaspoons of onion powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of white pepper, and about half a teaspoon of salt. Stir the pot, now add the chicken. Use 2 pounds or about roughly 4 cups of chopped chicken. The chicken should already be seasoned and cooked. Stir the pot one more time, and then we can continue to make our pie crust. Or if you want, you can use store-bought crust. In a large bowl, add 4 cups of all-purpose flour and half a teaspoon of salt. Combine with a fork. Ideally, you should sift the flour with a sifter, but a fork works great too. Add 2½ sticks of butter, which is 1¼ cup of butter. The butter should be cold, but not too cold that you cannot work it into the flour, and it should be cut into cubes. Work it in by hand until you get a crumbly texture. Add 2 egg yolks, just the yolks, not a whole egg. Then knead by hand again until combined. Just make sure you don't overwork the dough. Add a cup of milk little by little, kneading after each addition until a dough forms. Once the dough has come together, shape it into a ball. Then wrap it in a plastic wrap or in an airtight Ziploc bag and chill it in the fridge for 30 minutes to an hour. So I shape my dough into a log so I can cut about a third off of it. The larger piece will be the bottom crust and the smaller piece will be the top crust. You don't have to cut it this way though, just cut it based on the size and shape of your baking dish and how many dishes you are using for this recipe. I use a 9x13 baking dish for pot pie, so it is a large pie, so perhaps you might split the recipe between 2 baking dishes. I am starting with the larger piece for the bottom crust. I am stretching it out so I can roll it. Make sure your work surface, rolling pin, and dough are well floured to prevent sticking. Try not to roll the dough too thin and make sure to roll it evenly. Now I am rolling the dough onto the rolling pin. And now I am unrolling the dough over my baking dish. Straighten out the dough to make sure it fits well over your baking dish. Fill the dish and make sure you spread the filling out evenly. The filling looks so good. It's like, ugh, perfect. Instead of cutting off the edges, I just fold it over. Now let's work on the top crust. I am coating the dough in flour and I am stretching it out to prepare it for rolling. Once again, make sure your rolling pin and work surface are well floured too, and go ahead and roll out the dough evenly and make sure that it doesn't get too thin. Roll the dough over the rolling pin and unroll it onto the baking dish. Make sure the top crust covers the pie well and tuck the edges. Cut some slits into the top of the pie and try not to cut in too deep like I did just now. Now prepare an egg wash. I have 1 large egg and I'm combining it with a tablespoon of whole milk. I am whisking that together so I can brush it on top of the pie. This is to give the pie a nice golden brown color once it comes out of the oven. Bake for 30 to 45 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or until the top is golden brown. With its creamy filling and its rich buttery crust, now we have our gorgeous and delicious chicken pot pie. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe, like, and comment for more, and share this video with your friends and family. I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks once again. Bye! Hi, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making tres leches cake. Start by sifting in 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of sugar. Combine the mixture. Add a stick of softened unsalted butter. Add it little by little to the flour mixture and combine well with the beater. Mix until it is slightly crumbly in texture. Now to 3 eggs, we are adding 2/3 of a cup of whole milk and a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, as well as 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Whisk the mixture and then add it to the flour mixture. Add the liquid mixture to the flour mixture in 2 parts and combine well after each addition. I know this is traditionally baked in a square or rectangular pan. However, if you only have a round pan, that's fine too, as you can see here. If you're using a 10 or 12-inch round pan, or if you're using a 9 by 13 pan, bake at 350 Fahrenheit for 30 to 35 minutes, or until a toothpick or knife comes out clean after you stick it in to check that it is done. Now moving on to the milk mixture, add 1 can of evaporated milk, 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, and 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Add a teaspoon of vanilla as well and whisk well. Once the cake has completely cooled off, it is time to poke holes into it to pour the milk mixture into it. Poke as many holes as you need into the cake. You need to poke many of them in to make sure that the mixture absorbs well into the cake. The cake will need to soak in the milk mixture for about 30 minutes to an hour. So now I'm just adding the milk mixture to the cake. I'm using a ladle here, but it might be best to use a measuring cup instead, just to give you some control over how you pour it into the cake. But you can use either method you want. It doesn't really matter as long as it works for you. Add a pint or 2 cups of heavy cream to a bowl and whip on high speed until stiff peaks form. This is whipped cream we are making, so it is important that we add powdered sugar to it to stabilize it so that it won't deflate or go flat when it is time to use it. So I am adding a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar to it as well as a teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you want to add more powdered sugar for more sweetness, you can totally do that. In addition to vanilla extract, you can use any other extract you like for any flavor you want to create. And now it is time to top the tres leches cake. Here's the finished product. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give a like and follow or subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we're making Akasong, which is a corn flour shake flavored with star anise and cinnamon. Let's get started. In a pot over medium heat, pour in 4 cups of water. Then to it, add 3 to 5 star anise and 3 cinnamon sticks. I also added some small lime peels to it, but this is optional. In a separate bowl, add 1 cup of corn flour and 1 cup of cold or room temperature water. Do not use hot water, otherwise it will clump up the corn flour and it won't be able to dissolve very well. Combine the mixture until it is nice and smooth. You do not want any lumps in there. This has to be completely liquid, which is why it is necessary to whisk it as much as I am doing here. And you can see that I switched over to a whisk because it's obviously way better to use a whisk for this than to use a spoon. So continue to whisk it until you no longer feel any lumps in the bowl. And right before we go ahead and pour it into our pot of water, just stir it one more time before doing so, just to make sure everything is well combined. Add it to the pot while whisking, and then remove the pot from the heat as soon as the corn flour mixture has been added to it. It's going to get thick very fast, so once your corn flour is in the pot, you cannot stop or slow down at this point. So you can see how thick it has gotten, but don't worry, we're adding some milk to it. So add one 12-ounce can of evaporated milk and do this while whisking. Add 1 tablespoon of salted butter and half a cup to 1 cup of sugar, depending on your liking. And now whisk until combined. Now for a key ingredient, add 1 cup of coconut milk. Coconut milk works so well here, it really brings the entire recipe together. You can see here that upon adding the evaporated milk earlier and then adding the coconut milk, that the mixture is not as thick as it was before, which is good because this is a shake. So now let's add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract and a dash of ground nutmeg. Stir the mixture one more time until everything is combined and you're done. Just let it cool off a little bit before serving, and you could serve it in a bowl or in a glass. And I poured mine into a wine glass because I'm trying to be fancy like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making apple pie with graham cracker topping. Let's start by making our crust. This crust requires no rolling. All you have to do is add 2 cups of flour to your pie dish, a pinch of salt, 4 tablespoons of sugar. Combine with a fork and make sure all of the dry ingredients are mixed together. Add 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I add it little by little while I am combining the dough. Add 3 tablespoons of milk. Add 1 stick of melted butter. I'm combining with a wooden spoon for now, but you can continue using a fork. At some point, we're going to go in with our hands to start pressing the dough into the pie pan. So as you can see, I am pressing the dough in, and you need to make sure that as you are doing this, you keep the bottom level so that way you won't have any bumps in the crust. So now I have pressed the crust all the way into the pie pan, and I'm just making sure that everything is nice and leveled before I move on to the filling. I am using 3 pounds of sweet apples, and to it I'm adding a pinch of salt. Whatever kind of apples you use should be crisp so that they hold their shape well in the pie. Now I'm adding 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, half a cup of sugar, half a cup packed of dark brown sugar. I'm having trouble getting it out of the cup here. Now we're going to combine all of the ingredients. Make sure everything is well combined and that the apples are well coated in the mixture. I'm doing a lot of stirring here, but I just want to make sure that my apples are coated in the mixture and that everything gets evenly distributed. And okay, maybe I'm doing a little bit too much mixing. I'm really giving myself an arm workout here. So I'm transferring all of my apples into the pie crust. Make sure that you distribute the apples evenly inside the pie pan. I am transferring the sauce from the bowl into the filling as well. The apples will create more of their own sauce while they are baking. So this is what the pie looks like. I'm not going to go for a traditional apple pie. I'm actually going to do something a little different here. I don't make a second crust to put on top of my pie. Instead, I'm making a ground graham cracker and sugar topping. So I went and got 4 to 6 graham crackers and I put them in a food processor. I ground them up and added 2 tablespoons of sugar to it and mixed it together. And now you see that I am topping my pie with the mixture. So I'm just going to continue to add this. And once I am done adding this graham cracker and sugar mixture to the top of the pie, I am going to go and spray it with some cooking spray on top. This is just to make sure that it sets well and it also gives a really nice color to the pie once it is done baking. We are going to bake the pie at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. Then we are going to reduce the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and continue baking the pie for another 30 to 40 minutes. You will know when the pie is done when you start to see the filling bubbling at the edges. And here is our beautiful apple pie. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, like, and comment for more videos like this. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thanks once again. Bye. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making cremas. It's super easy and perfect for the holidays, and it contains just 3 simple ingredients plus a light touch of vanilla. In this video, I'll be making it in a bowl with a whisk, but you can just as easily make it in a blender. Anyway, let's get started. To a bowl, add 1 15-ounce can of cream of coconut. Add 1 14-ounce can of full-fat sweetened condensed milk. And it's coming slowly out of the can. Just scrape the inside of the can down with a rubber spatula to get everything out. Use a whisk to mix everything together. Continue until it's well combined. It might take a while given that the sweetened condensed milk and cream of coconut are quite thick, and you might even need to use a rubber spatula to make sure that everything is combined together because the thickness of the sweetened condensed milk could cause it to settle at the bottom of the bowl. So just use a rubber spatula to scrape down the bottom and mix it into the rest of the mixture so everything is well homogenized. Now here's the star of the show, rum. Dark rum specifically, and I highly recommend that you use Barbuncool rum because it is very strong. And lastly, let's add a teaspoon of vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract. Please, guys, never use imitation vanilla. Using a whisk to mix everything together, and I'm going to go in and use a rubber spatula to do the final stir to make sure that everything is well combined. So just going down to the bottom of the bowl and scraping around it as I stir until the entire mixture is combined and homogeneous. And just keep going until you no longer see like separate color swirls within the bowl, because if you're seeing multiple colors in there, like the lighter white versus the beige, so that's how I know that it's not completely combined yet. But if you have a blender, then obviously you don't have to worry about that problem. It's just that should you decide to do this by hand, then you'll have to do some extra stirring. And here is our cremas. Do not chill the cremas, otherwise it will become too thick to drink. Simply keep it in a glass bottle at room temperature and you're good. If you want to serve it cold, just pour it over ice. You can also add a dash of ground cinnamon or ground nutmeg or any kind of spice you like if desired. But this cremas is great on its own too. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Till next time. Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making spiced mocha hot cocoa. It's creamy and bold with the flavors of cinnamon, nutmeg, and star anise with some mocha undertones to it. I also topped it with whipped cream, which I'll show you how to make. Let's get started. Start by brewing some fresh, strong coffee. You need 1 cup of coffee. Use whatever kind of coffee you like, whatever brew method you prefer. We're going to boil some star anise in the coffee to infuse it. I also usually boil 2 cinnamon sticks in the coffee as well, but I didn't have any on hand, so I'm going to use a teaspoon of ground cinnamon instead. Use whatever you have, but I strongly prefer and recommend that you use whole cinnamon sticks. So now we are boiling our star anise on low heat. And as it starts boiling, we're going to go ahead and add a pinch of salt. Add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon if you're not using 2 whole cinnamon sticks. And add 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Stir. Now add 1/3 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder and stir again. Stir really well to make sure that the cocoa powder dissolves fully. Now add 3 cups of milk little by little while stirring. I'm using whole milk, but you can use whatever kind of milk you prefer. Almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk, it's your call. Now add 1/3 cup of heavy cream and 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Never use imitation vanilla. Stir the mixture and then we can go ahead and remove it from the heat. Add 1/2 cup of either white or cane sugar and add 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar. Brown sugar isn't easy to get out of a cup, so I recommend that after measuring, you scoop up your brown sugar with a spoon like this to add it like I'm doing here, because if you dump the brown sugar into the pot in one go, it will splash everywhere and make a mess that no one wants. Now let's make some whipped cream. Add 1 cup of cold, heavy whipping cream to a bowl. The bowl you use should be cold, and so should the whisk attachment that you use to beat the heavy cream. Beat the heavy cream until it begins to thicken, so about 3 to 4 minutes, and you're whisking it at medium-high speed. Now let's add our powdered sugar. I am using 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, but you can use more or less if you like. Continue whipping, and then just until stiff peaks form, you can stop. Don't overbeat the whipped cream. Pour the hot cocoa through a strainer and then pour it into a mug. Top the hot cocoa with your homemade whipped cream. Use as much as you want, and I am using a load of it. And our hot cocoa is done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Till next time, thanks! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a really simple and easy banana bread. Let's get started. Mash 4 large ripe bananas with either a fork or a masher until they are nice and smooth, just like you see here. Beat 2 large eggs and melt 1.5 stick or 1/2 cup plus 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter and let cool for a few minutes. Add the beaten eggs and add the melted butter. Add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Add 2/3 of a cup of white or cane sugar and 2/3 cup packed of dark brown sugar. Add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, not imitation. Stir the mixture and make sure all of the ingredients are well combined. Add 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I just made a mess there. Add the flour little by little and fold it in after each addition. Now we have our batter and we're going to transfer it to either 2 8x4x2 loaf pans or a single 9x5x3 loaf pan, whichever one you prefer to use. Bake for 50 to 60 minutes or until a knife comes out clean when you stick it in the center to check that it is done. Here is our delicious banana bread. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making fluffy buttermilk pancakes. Pretty easy, really simple. Let's get started. To a bowl, add 2 cups of all-purpose flour, spooned and leveled. Here I am sifting in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Add 1/4 cup of either white or cane sugar. By the way, I always use cane sugar in my recipes, but honestly, it's a good 1-for-1 substitution between white and cane sugar, so whichever one you prefer, it's up to you. Now just whisk all of the dry ingredients together until combined. In a separate bowl or measuring cup like I'm doing here, whisk 2 large eggs. Add 1 cup of buttermilk. Add a 1/2 stick or 4 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. And add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, not imitation vanilla. Whisk the mixture until well combined. Now pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Fold all the ingredients together just until combined. And don't worry about lumps in the batter. You don't have to mix the batter anymore to get them homogeneous. Pancake batter should have a few lumps in it anyway. Heat a pan over low heat and add a little bit of butter or a flavorless cooking oil for frying. Drop the batter into the pan, about a 1/3 cup of batter for each pancake. See how there are bubbles appearing around the edges of the pancake? That's how you know it's ready to flip. You're going to cook each pancake on one side for 2 minutes, flip, then cook on the other side for 1 minute. Repeat for the rest of the batter. And here are our fluffy and delicious buttermilk pancakes. So yummy. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a creamy vanilla key lime pie. We're going to start by making our graham cracker crust. I have about 16 to 18 graham cracker sheets that I put in a food processor. You can use a blender as well. or use a rolling pin or masher or whatever you can use to crush them. So I ground up the graham crackers to get this nice and fine texture here. And to it, I'm going to add 6 tablespoons of sugar and 12 tablespoons or 1.5 sticks of salted melted butter. And then I'm going to combine everything together. I'm going to press this pie crust into the baking pan, and we are going to bake our pie crust at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for just about 10 minutes so it can set. Now we're going to make our filling. I have 4 egg yolks here. It looks like 3 because the first yolk broke when I put it in the bowl. So I'm just beating the egg yolks. And now add a tablespoon of freshly grated lime zest. And add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Mix it together. You don't have to mix it for a long time, just make sure it's all combined. Now we are gonna add one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. Because it's so thick, it pours in really slowly, but it is satisfying to watch. Now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. This just adds a little more creaminess to the pie. Continue mixing. Now it's time for the star of the show, the key lime juice. I am using half a cup of key lime juice and I'm mixing it together. If you want, you can add some sugar to it. Although I didn't show it here, I added 4 tablespoons of sugar to my filling because I do like my pie a little sweet. It is totally up to you whether or not you want to add a little more sugar to it. Now let's pour in our filling. And we're going to bake the pie at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 15 minutes. Let it cool afterwards and then chill it in the fridge for at least 4 hours. And now we have this super delicious vanilla key lime pie. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this recipe. Please subscribe, like, and comment for more videos and recipes like this one. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making chewy brown butter chocolate chip cookies. Now, I prefer to use chocolate chunks in my cookies, but at the time of the making of this video, I did not have a baking bar to chop into chunks. I did, however, have chocolate chips. So if you're like me and you prefer chocolate chunks over chips, but you only have chips on hand, I'm going to show you how I make chocolate chunks out of chips. So let's get started. I have 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips in a glass microwave-safe measuring cup. I'm going to place this cup in the microwave for 30 seconds at maximum power. Obviously, at this point they're not melted yet. Just use a rubber spatula to stir them and place the cup or bowl, whatever you're using, back into the microwave for another 30 seconds. Stir it really well before returning the cup to the microwave. However, this time you should microwave only in 10-second intervals, stirring after each interval until the chocolate chips are completely melted. For me, it took no more than 2 10-second intervals to fully melt the chocolate chips, but depending on what kind or what brand of chips you're using and how loaded they are with emulsifiers, you might need more or less time to fully melt the chocolate. And here's a tip. For every cup of chocolate chips you have, add 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil to it once you're done melting it to make it less thick and easier to manage. Now I am pouring my melted chocolate onto a tray lined with parchment paper so that way it will come off easily, neatly, and mess-free once it has resolidified. Spread out the chocolate evenly and place it in the freezer. It takes about 3 hours for it to freeze completely in preparation for it to be chopped into chunks. Now let's get started on our cookie dough. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and to it I'm adding 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, which adds to the chewiness of the cookies. Add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of salt. Combine everything with a fork and then set aside. Now let's start on the brown butter. Here I have 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted butter in a stainless steel saucepan. Always use stainless steel when making brown butter so it is easy to see how it progresses as you are cooking it. Cook the butter at medium heat while whisking constantly just until it browns. Never turn away from this and always keep your eyes on it as butter can burn very quickly and easily. The butter is done cooking once it is golden brown with a toasty, nutty smell to it. Once it's done, immediately transfer the brown butter to a glass bowl so it will not burn. Brown butter can very easily and quickly turn into burnt butter, and no one wants burnt butter in their cookies. Scrape every last bit of the brown butter from the pan into the bowl because that's where all the flavor bits are, and let it cool for about 10 minutes before continuing. Add 1 tablespoon of pure, not imitation, vanilla extract to the brown butter and whisk until combined. Add 2/3 of a cup of sugar. I use cane sugar, but white sugar works perfectly too. Then add 1 cup of dark brown sugar. Combine the mixture until smooth. It's really hard to mix a bowl with one hand while holding a camera in the other, you guys. Okay, so now let's add 1 large egg and 2 large egg yolks. Egg yolks add to the chewiness of the cookies and gives them an even richer flavor. Whisk until smooth. Now let's add the flour mixture little by little or just in 2 parts and fold until combined. Our dough has come together. Now let's put it to the side so we can chop up our chocolate. Here's the chocolate, which has been in the freezer for more than 3 hours now. Remember, I only did this step because I did not have a chocolate baking bar to chop up into chunks, but I am only showing you this step in case you happen to be in the same position I was in, where you only have chocolate chips on hand but would prefer to use chocolate chunks. So here I have chopped up the chocolate into these nice chocolate pieces. Now let's add our chocolate to the dough and fold the pieces in. And our cookie dough is ready. Resist the urge to dig in before baking. I recommend chilling the dough for at least 4 hours before baking to let the ingredients get to know each other a little better, or even 24 hours for maximum flavor. But if you don't want to wait that long, these cookies taste amazing even if you don't chill the dough beforehand. Scoop up about 2 tablespoons of dough for each cookie. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, bake for 8 to 10 minutes. Do not overbake the cookies even if they don't look completely done. Just let them sit for 10 minutes and they will continue to cook as they set. And here are our chocolate chip cookies. Look how beautiful those chunks of chocolate look in them. Whew. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making one of my favorite desserts, la reine du chocolat, or Queen of Chocolates in English. It is so good with a creamy filling made of chocolate and rum, and it's on a graham cracker crust, which is just so buttery and just, oh, I love it. Anyway, let's get started by making the crust. Here I have about 2 cups of ground graham crackers that I put through a food processor. You can use a blender as well. It takes about 16 to 18 graham cracker sheets to get this amount. I am adding 6 tablespoons of sugar to it. And I'm going to add 12 tablespoons or a stick and a half of salted melted butter. Combine everything together. Here is our crust, and as you can see, I've placed it in a springform pan lined with parchment paper to make sure that the dessert comes out neat in the end. To set the crust, you should either bake it for 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or you could freeze it for at least 6 hours. I prefer to bake it. Just be careful that if you choose to bake it, do not bake it for too long, otherwise it will come out too hard in the end. Now let's make our filling. To a mixing bowl, add 4 sticks of cold, unsalted butter, and then beat them until smooth. You want it to get it nice and creamy just like this. Next, sift in 4 cups of powdered or confectioner's sugar. Do this little by little, combining after each addition. Next, let's add half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder and continue mixing until combined. Ooh, it's looking good so far. Okay, so now let's add 4 egg yolks and 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Mix again until combined. And now for a really fun part, rum. Add half a cup of dark rum. You can adjust and use a little less or a little more if desired, but be careful not to use too much rum because this dessert has to hold its shape. Now add 1 8-ounce block of cold cream cheese. I'm adding it little by little to make it easier to mix in, but honestly, you can just throw the whole block in there and mix it all at once. It's fine. Lastly, let's add 3 cups of either whipped cream or Cool Whip, which should be about 8 ounces. Not straight up heavy cream, you guys. When I say whipped cream or Cool Whip, I literally mean whipped cream or Cool Whip, not heavy cream, okay? Because we do not want too much liquid going in here, and that could cause this to fall apart. And then you would have a mess on your hands. A delicious mess, but a mess nonetheless. I recommend that you chill the filling for a little bit just to make sure that it is thick enough before we put it in the crust. It's not a necessary step, but I do recommend it. Look how good this looks so far. Ugh, I could eat it just like that and just like not wait for it at all. Anyway. Now let's fill the crust. You can see how thick this filling is, and it's really hard to get off the spoon, but this is exactly the consistency that we are looking for. You want this dessert to hold itself together, and this is the perfect consistency right here. So I'm just smoothing it out, and it's so thick and creamy, and ugh, I love it. This stuff makes me so happy, you guys. Now we have to leave this in the refrigerator for 6 hours or more so that it sets. Yes, I know, I hate waiting too. But just like ice cream, how you have to keep it in the freezer, you gotta keep this in the fridge so that it maintains its structure. Now that it is out of the fridge, let's take the wall off and let's remove the parchment paper. Oh my god, what a beauty this dessert is. Here is our delicious, decadent, creamy, chocolatey reine du chocolat. This thing makes me so happy, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until next time, see ya! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making one of my favorite desserts, tiramisu. It is so delicious and it's pretty easy to make. Let's get started. Start by brewing 2 cups of strong coffee, then let it chill in the fridge for a little bit. To a bowl, add 6 large egg yolks, just the yolks, not the whites, and then add 1 1/3 cup of sugar. With a mixer, combine the egg yolks and the sugar until it is smooth and pale in color. This is about the color we are looking for. Now let's add 1 pound or 16 ounces of mascarpone. Mascarpone is so heavy and thick, it's really hard to get out of the container. You see how I can't even get it off the spoon? Now I'm using a wooden spoon to kind of smooth out the mascarpone so it will be easier for me to mix it in. Instead of using the mixer, I am stirring in the mascarpone by hand because I do not want it to come out too runny once it is fully combined. I think it is best to use a wooden spoon and mix everything together by hand until just combined. And as you can see, this is like a really nice consistency that we are looking for. Just make sure you keep stirring until everything is combined and there are no more clumps, but we definitely do not want it to be any thinner than this. Add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract and add 3 tablespoons of dark rum. Stir until combined. Once we are done mixing, just put the bowl in the fridge to chill for about 30 minutes. In a separate bowl, whisk 6 egg whites until stiff peaks form. This should take about 4 to 5 minutes of whisking the egg whites at high speed. You can see how nice and fluffy the egg whites are getting, so we're getting pretty close to what we need. And as you can see, when I pick up the egg whites, it doesn't fall off of the whisk. So this is the texture we're looking for. So now let's go ahead and fold in our egg whites into our mascarpone cream. Don't add the entire bowl of egg whites to the mixture all at once. Just do it in about 3 parts and fold it in well after each addition. Now we're folding in the last part of our egg whites, and once we are done here, we can go ahead and put the bowl back in the fridge for a little bit. In the meantime, we will go ahead and prepare our coffee mixture. So here are our 2 cups of freshly brewed coffee that we left to chill in the fridge. And please use a really good and strong coffee, okay? And now let's add half a cup of dark rum. And then we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Oh, and if you want, you can sweeten the coffee before making this mixture. Now we're going to prepare our savoiardi lady fingers. And when you are dipping them into the coffee mixture, do it for literally no more than 3 seconds because lady fingers are a lot like a sponge. They will soak up the coffee so fast and you can lose the coffee and the lady fingers if you let them soak in for too long. And when they soak for too long, they fall apart just so easily and you won't be able to use them in the tiramisu. So just keep in mind that you do not have to soak them for very long. Just do it for literally 2 seconds like I'm doing here. I am using 40 ladyfingers here, but depending on the size of your dish, you might use more or less. Now I am adding the filling to the dish. Smooth out the filling really nice and even over the ladyfingers. Then we will go back to soaking more ladyfingers and layering them on top until we are done assembling the tiramisu. It's so smooth and creamy, it's really satisfying to watch. Now let's prepare more ladyfingers for the next layer, and remember not to soak them in for too long, otherwise they will drink up all your coffee, they'll get really soggy, and they'll fall apart, okay? And now let's add the rest of our filling and smooth it out evenly over the top. Once we are done with that, let's go ahead and cover our tiramisu with plastic and put it in the freezer to chill for 6 hours or more so it can set. Now it is done chilling, and then we're gonna top it with some cocoa powder. I'm using a sifter to make sure that the cocoa powder is spread out evenly across the top. Here is the final product, and then we're gonna take out a slice to see how good this looks, and it does look really good. And here is our delicious tiramisu. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more recipes like this one, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye! Hey guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making red velvet cake. This is the most amazing red velvet cake I've ever had. It's light and fluffy with a rich and complex flavor complemented by the sweetness of cream cheese frosting, which I will also show you how to make. It is everything you want and need in a red velvet cake. So let's get started. Sift in 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Make sure you sift it with a sifter or strainer because we want the cake to be light and fluffy. Sift in a 1/3 cup of cornstarch. Cornstarch helps to make cakes more tender, so it is a must-have for this recipe. Sift in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Sift a 1/3 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, not Dutch process, otherwise you'll ruin the color of the cake and it won't turn very red. I know that a 1/3 cup of cocoa powder may be a lot for red velvet cake, but it is the key to the incredibly rich flavor in the cake and gives it a pleasantly chocolatey undertone. Sift in 2 1/3 cup of sugar. Use a whisk to combine the mixture. Add 1 stick or a half cup of softened, unsalted butter to the flour mixture little by little while mixing until you get a crumbly, sandy texture, like the texture you see here. In a separate bowl, whisk 3 large eggs. Add 1 cup of buttermilk. Red velvet cake requires buttermilk, so you cannot substitute for regular plain milk. Add 2/3 cup of vegetable oil. Add 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Red velvet cake requires vinegar, so don't freak out, you won't taste it. Add 1 teaspoon of either instant coffee or espresso powder. Don't worry, your cake will not taste like coffee, it just adds to the complexity of its flavor. Add 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Please do not use imitation vanilla. Using the real stuff makes all the difference. Add red food coloring. I used a full fluid ounce bottle of the store brand stuff, but the amount of food coloring you use depends on what brand you're using and what shade of red you're going for. So I cannot say how much exactly you should use since that's up to you. Whisk the wet ingredients together and add about half of the wet mixture to the dry mixture. Mix at medium speed for about a minute, then scrape down the sides. Add the remainder of the wet mixture. Continue mixing at medium speed just until all the ingredients are combined. Add a 1/3 cup of boiling hot water to the batter and stir by hand until combined. The water has to be very hot to further enhance the flavor of the cake while making it even more rich and moist. Transfer the batter to a greased baking pan lined with parchment paper. Parchment paper helps to keep the cake from getting stuck to the cake pan while it cools and from falling apart and crumbling once it's done baking. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, bake the cake for 40 to 50 minutes. Or when the knife comes out clean when you stick it in the center of the cake to check that it is done. Let the cake cool. Never frost the cake without letting it cool completely first. While the cake cools off, let's get started on our frosting. Beat 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and half a stick or 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter in a bowl. They should both be at room temperature, not necessarily too soft, otherwise the frosting might come out too runny. Beat the cream cheese and butter until smooth, for about 3 minutes. This is a nice texture we have here. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and continue mixing until combined. Next, add in powdered or confectioner's sugar. Make sure that it is well sifted before you use it and add it little by little to the mixture and mix well after each addition. I used 3 cups total of powdered sugar, but if you like your frosting sweeter, then you can add more to your liking. The frosting is done and it looks absolutely perfect. And now you can go ahead and frost your cake. And here is our delicious, flavorful, fluffy, velvety, and red velvet cake. What a beauty. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you like this recipe. For more recipes, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this and my other videos with your family and friends. Until next time, see ya! Hi guys, Christina-Regine here. Today we are making a delicious baked cheesecake. We'll start by making our crust. Here I have about 2 cups of ground graham crackers that I put through a food processor. You can use a blender as well. It takes about 16 to 18 graham cracker sheets to get this amount. I am adding 6 tablespoons of sugar to it. And I'm going to add 12 tablespoons or a stick and a half of salted melted butter. Combine everything together. Here is our crust, and now we are going to press it into the baking pan. You actually don't need a spring-form pan to make a cheesecake. I'll show how to take a cheesecake out of a regular pan later on. You have to use your hand to push the crust into the pan, and I'm just using a spatula to level it off. Now we have to bake this crust to let it set, so bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. With a mixer, beat 2 pounds of cream cheese until it is nice and smooth. Now we are going to beat in 4 large eggs. We are going to do this one by one and mix well after each addition. Now we are adding a cup and a half of sugar. Also add a pinch of salt. Add 2 tablespoons of pure vanilla extract. The crust is nice and fresh out of the oven. Now I am adding the mixture to our graham cracker crust. I am using a large spoon to do it. It might be easier for you to do it that way. I do not recommend just dumping the whole bowl of the mixture into the crust, or otherwise you might risk making a huge mess, so it might be safer to do this method instead. Don't worry about the filling sitting over the crust, it won't be a problem. At 350 degrees Fahrenheit, bake the cheesecake for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. The cheesecake should be set with a wobbly center when it is done. Once the cheesecake is out of the oven, let it cool for 1 to 2 hours. Then cover it and chill it for 4 hours. Once it is out of the fridge and it has set, it is time to take it out of the pan. I am going to show you how I take a cheesecake out of a regular cake pan. Take the cake and put it on the burner of the stove. The burner should be set to low heat. Leave it on the burner for no more than 2 minutes, then you can remove it from the stove. This works because the crust has butter in it, and when the butter is heated, it allows the crust to loosen from the pan. So once the butter loosens up the crust, we can easily remove the cheesecake from the cake pan. So now I'm taking the cheesecake off the heat. Now I'm grabbing a plate and putting it over the cheesecake. And then I am going to flip the cheesecake upside down. As long as you keep a tight grip on the plate and cake pan, the cheesecake will not fall out. Once I have taken the cake pan off of the cheesecake, I go and get another plate and put it on the bottom of the cake, and then I flip it over again. Removing the plate from the cheesecake, and see, there is no mess and it has come out successfully from the pan. And now we have our super delicious cheesecake. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe, like, and comment, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christina-Regine Cooks. Thanks once again. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye!